Now, the hot topic of the hour. Law enforcement on high alert this morning after the Secret Service shot and killed a man who breached President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home and resort yesterday. Saturday night. Cops identified the suspect as 21-year-old Austin Tucker Martin from North Carolina. He was spotted near the north gate of Mar-a-Lago carrying a shotgun and a fuel can. Here's the Palm Beach County Sheriff explaining what happened.
A deputy and 2 Secret Service agents on the detail went to that area to investigate. They confronted a white male that was carrying a gas can and a shotgun. He was ordered to drop those 2 pieces of equipment that he had with him, at which time he put down the gas can, raised the shotgun to a shooting position. At that point in time, the deputy and the 2 Secret Service agents fired their weapons and neutralized the threat. He is deceased at the scene.
President Trump was not at Mar-a-Lago when this happened around 1:30 in the morning on Saturday night. Joining me now is former FBI special agent and Fox News contributor Nicole Parker. Nicole, thanks very much for being here. You've been doing a lot of work on this over the weekend. What can you tell us this morning?
Well, Maria, this is an ongoing investigation, obviously, but the FBI is working very closely with the Secret Service and with Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, and we're learning a lot more information specifically about the offender. He did come from North Carolina. His family had put out a warning and a missing person notice and had coordinated with law enforcement around the same time that this act actually took place. He had taken a vehicle, his car, that he drove from North Carolina and entered into the north perimeter gate of Mar-a-Lago as another vehicle was exiting. Again, law enforcement approached him immediately. He had the shotgun and the gas can in his hands, and they said, drop it. Without even saying a word, he dropped the gas can but refused to drop the shotgun, raised it to a shooting position, and at that moment, that is when deadly force is justified, and law enforcement believed that their life or the life of another person was in imminent danger of death or serious physical injury, and the threat was neutralized. And so, again, they're going to be looking into this individual to understand what was his motive. A lot of times when these individuals do something like this, you should know that you are expecting a death sentence. You cannot approach law enforcement and the inner perimeter of Mar-a-Lago and think that there will be no lethal consequence. And so this is an ongoing investigation. The FBI sent out their evidence response team to Mar-a-Lago immediately to gather evidence. Although this will likely never appear in the court of law, they will gather the evidence as if it will. That is the proper way to do it. They will look into potentially any co-conspirators, although I have heard nothing about that at this point. I think it's important to note that this individual, there's more information coming out. And I mentioned yesterday, law enforcement will be building a profile of who he was. What was his motivation? What was his grievance? Why was he doing this? And so, again, a young 21-year-old male apparently had an artistic ability and liked to draw golf courses, work on golf courses. But I think there's another layer to this, that in questioning the family members and friends, coworkers, looking into text messages, he may have had an interest in the Epstein files and how that was being handled. Apparently, he had an issue with the current state of the economy. He thought that it was difficult for young people to be able to survive in this economy. But yet he was also known to be a Trump supporter. So they're going to be looking into all of these different factors, building a profile, seeing what the precipitating stressor was that caused him to do this, to leave his home in North Carolina and come down to Florida. But rest assured, FBI Miami, I spoke with the special agent in charge. I had the privilege of meeting him Friday evening. Ironically, he is solid. They will do a full and exhaustive and a logical investigation, and they will get to the bottom of this. But a message for anyone that has an idea of doing this: expect a consequence. You cannot do this. It is unacceptable. And the political rhetoric going on in our country, it has got to end. It's dangerous, Maria.
Yeah,
all of this radicalization,
right.
But it starts with ideas. And that's exactly how it starts, is putting ideas into these individuals' heads, and that's how they become radicalized.
Well, it's a good point. And you know the Florida team. You worked at the FBI out of Florida. And, of course, if you're looking at an individual carrying a shotgun and told to put down his arms, and instead of putting down the gun, he gets in a shooting position, you would expect deadly force to follow. But you're right in terms of the rhetoric. Even with these scary threats against the president, this potentially is the third assassination attempt. Democrats are still on this mission to attack the commander-in-chief. Listen to this new ad from Illinois Senate candidate Juliana Stratton. Watch this.
Trump. Vote Juliana.
They said it, not me.
Trump.
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 Vote Juliana.
I mean, can you imagine? This is, and then there's Pritzker actually endorsing all these people cursing, saying F Trump. This is her actual ad. Then there's California gubernatorial candidate Katie Porter saying the exact same thing during a California Democrat convention. Watch this.
Trump. Together, we're going to kick Trump's in November. I'll stand up to Trump and his cronies just like I did in Congress, with or without my whiteboard.
Why would anyone think that anyone wants an elected official in place after using this profanity for her campaign? Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was with me yesterday, and here's what he said about all the rhetoric coming from the Democrat Party. Watch.
We look back here and think two assassins, would-be assassins dead, one in jail for life, and this venom coming from the other side. Look at this terrible, profane Senate commercial in Illinois. I would call for them to take that down. Take that down, because it is that kind of venom that we don't know whether this person was a mastermind, unhinged, or what, but they are normalizing this violence. It's got to stop.
It's just extraordinary, Nicole.
It's disgusting. This hate and vitriol is pure evil. Regardless of where you stand on the political spectrum, it does not matter. You honor the presidency. This is the office, whether you agree with his politics, and his, it doesn't matter. This is a respect for human life. It is unacceptable for a Democrat, for a Republican, for a liberal, for a progressive, for a conservative. It is unacceptable. This has to end. And again, we're seeing this more and more and more. These young white males going out and they're thinking that violence is the way to deal with their grievance. It's unacceptable. And again, Democrats, you need to take a lesson, because people are going to get hurt. President Trump's life has been spared multiple times. Thank God he has been protected, because you know what? He has been under attack more than any other U.S. president. And again, you don't even know about all the threats against him. These are just the ones that have been manifested. There have been many that have been thwarted behind the scenes.
Well,
God bless President Trump. Keep it up, and do not be intimidated, and do not back down.
Yeah, and he's not. But somebody from the Democrat Party should come out and call out that ridiculous ad with all of that profanity and say, take it down and stop your nonsense. Meanwhile, got to get your take on Mexico. Chaos underway in Mexico after the resort town of Puerto Vallarta and its local airport were under siege following a military operation that killed the country's most wanted drug leader. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed U.S. involvement, writing this on X. The U.S. provided intelligence support to the Mexican government in order to assist with an operation in Jalisco, Mexico, in which El Mencho, an infamous drug lord and leader within the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, was eliminated. The administration, Trump administration, told Americans in the country to shelter in place, Nicole. You know all about this. You were in the FBI and understood exactly what was going on with the wide open border and its consequences in the United States, Nicole.
Lethal consequences, Maria. Lethal. I lost one of my own friends to fentanyl, someone who wasn't even a drug user, someone who had a bright future. And President Trump is saying enough is enough. Thousands and thousands of Americans have been killed. It is not okay, and he is protecting us. He is protecting all of us. Trump declared Jalisco Nueva Generación as a foreign terrorist organization group last year, which was the right move to do, because you know what? They are a terrorist organization. They are killing thousands of people. And again, this opens up the resources to take it just from criminal over to the terrorist side. This will not be tolerated. We will not back down. And I recommend that all Americans enroll in the STEP program, the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program with the State Department. If you travel overseas, register online. You will receive notifications and alerts. We have to keep Americans safe.
I did it. I enrolled as well myself. Nicole, real quick before you go, can you tell us anything about the Nancy Guthrie case? Do we know what the financial backdrop of the family is, or do we know any motives here? Where are we on that?
Maria, I know that the FBI is looking and interested in taking over the investigation. We know that it's been bungled from the get-go by the Sheriff's Department, although that's just the sheriff himself, not the rank-and-file officers. But again, it is important to look at the financial situation of the family, who was supporting, the family members, what was the will. Those are things that they are going to be looking at very closely.
Yeah, I'd like to know about the will, actually. I think that's a really good point, checking out who was poised to get the inheritance. Nicole, thank you. Nicole Parker, you're great, and we will continue to check in. Nicole Parker, former FBI. We'll be right back. Stay with us.